Coastal town of Lumina, where the ocean's whispers mingled with the rustling leaves in the salty breeze, lived a young woman named Elara. She would leave the library, its bell tinkling as she shut the door behind her, and walked to the shore. Elara approached the rocks that jutted out into the ocean. She noticed something unusual. There, sitting on the largest of the rocks, was a man she had never seen before. He was a stranger in a place where everyone was familiar, yet there was something about him that seemed to belong. He was dressed simply in a white shirt and dark trousers, his feet bare against the rough surface of the rock. His dark hair was tousled by the wind, and he sat with a stillness that contrasted sharply with the restlessness of the sea. Elara decided to approach him, her footsteps barely making a sound on the sand.
"Beautiful, isn't it?"
she said softly, not wanting to startle him. The man turned to her, his green eyes meeting hers.
"Is,"
he replied, his voice smooth and calm, like the ocean on a clear day.
"I've seen many sunsets, but none quite like this."
She said, offering her hand. Orion took it, his grip firm yet gentle. For a brief moment as their hands touched, Elara felt a strange sensation, like a current of electricity passing between them. It was fleeting, gone as quickly as it came, leaving her wondering if she had imagined it.
Here in this place, it feels like more than just coincidence. But now I'm not so sure. Meeting you.
Elara knew that this was only the beginning. The beginning of a story that was as old as time itself, a story of love, fate, and the power of the sea.
The days passed, and Elara found herself increasingly drawn to Orion. His mysterious aura and the unspoken bond that seemed to exist between them intrigued her. Each evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and the sky painted itself with hues of purple, pink, and gold, Elara would walk to the same spot on the beach. Sometimes she found him sitting on the large rock, gazing out at the sea, as if searching for something beyond the waves. Other times, he was nowhere to be seen, leaving Elara with an unexplainable sense of longing that tugged at her heart. One evening, as the last rays of sunlight kissed the ocean and the stars began to emerge in the twilight sky, Elara found Orion seated on the rock. The sight of him against the backdrop of the dusky sky was almost ethereal, as if he were a part of the twilight itself. She hesitated for a moment, watching him. He seemed lost in thought, his eyes fixed on the horizon, his expression contemplative. She approached him quietly, her footsteps barely making a sound on the sand. When she was close enough, Orion turned to look at her, a small smile playing on his lips.
"You always find me,"
he said softly, his voice blending with the sound of the waves. Elara smiled back.
"Perhaps you want to be found,"
she replied, taking a seat beside him on the rock. Orion turned his gaze back to the sea, and for a moment, there was only the sound of the ocean filling the silence between them. Then, without turning to her, he spoke.
"Do you ever feel like there's something you're searching for? Something just out of reach?"
Elara nodded.
"All the time.
She confessed.
It's why I love the sea. It feels like there's something out there, just beyond the horizon, waiting to be discovered."
Orion's eyes flickered with a light she hadn't seen before.
"And what do you think that is?"
He asked, turning to face her. Elara shrugged.
"I don't know. Maybe it's a place. Maybe it's a feeling. Or maybe it's a person. All I know is that there's a part of me that feels incomplete. Like I'm waiting for something or someone to make me whole."
Orion's expression softened, and he reached out to take her hand in his. The touch was gentle, yet it sent a shiver down Elara's spine, just like the first time they had touched.
"Sometimes,
He began, his voice barely above a whisper.
the things we search for are closer than we think. Sometimes, they find us when we least expect it."
Elara looked into his eyes, her heart pounding in her chest. There was something about the way he spoke, the way he looked at her, that made her feel as if he was speaking directly to her soul.
"What are you searching for, Orion?"
She asked, her voice trembling slightly. Orion hesitated, his gaze dropping to their joined hands. For a moment, Elara thought he wouldn't answer, but then he looked up at her, his eyes filled with a sadness that made her heart ache.
"I'm searching for a way back.
He said finally.
A way back to where I belong."
Elara frowned, not understanding.
"Back to where?"
She asked. Orion looked out at the sea, his expression distant.
"To a place beyond this world."
He said softly.
A place where the stars are closer. Where the sea sings with the voice of 1,000 dreams. A place where I once felt at home.
Elara's heart skipped a beat.
Are you saying you're not from here? Not from Lumina?
She asked, her voice barely a whisper. Orion turned to her, his eyes shining with a light that seemed almost otherworldly.
No. Elara. I'm not from Lumina. I'm not from this world at all.
Elara stared at him, her mind struggling to comprehend his words.
What do you mean?
She asked, feeling a mix of fear and fascination.
I am from a world that exists beyond the stars. A place where magic flows like water and time is but a distant memory. I came here searching for something. Something I lost long ago. And now, I find myself trapped in this world. Unable to return.
Elara's heart was racing.
How did you get here?
She asked, her voice trembling. Orion looked at her, his expression both sad and resigned.
I don't know.
He admitted.
One moment, I was in my world. And the next, I was here. Standing on this beach. At first, I thought I could find a way back. But as time passed, I realized that whatever brought me here had also sealed the way behind me.
Elara's mind was spinning. She had always believed in the extraordinary, in the possibility that there was more to the world than met the eye. But to hear Orion speak of another world, a world beyond the stars, was beyond anything she could have imagined.
Is there no way for you to return?
She asked, her voice laced with concern. Orion shook his head.
I have searched for answers. But so far, I have found none. I am trapped here. A stranger in a world that is not my own.
Elara felt a surge of sadness for him. She couldn't imagine what it must be like to be so far from home, from everything familiar.
Is that why you come here? To this spot on the beach?
She asked.
To feel closer to your world?
Orion nodded.
The sea. The stars, they remind me of home. They make me feel as if I am not so far away. Even though I know the truth.
Elara reached out and placed a hand on his arm.
You're not alone. Orion,
He said softly.
you have me. And together, we'll find a way to help you.
Orion looked at her, a mixture of gratitude and sorrow in his eyes.
Thank you. Elara,
He said quietly.
you have been a light in my darkness. A beacon of hope in a world that feels so foreign to me.
Elara smiled, her heart swelling with emotion. She didn't know how they would find a way to help Orion, but she knew one thing for certain. She would not let him face this alone. She would stand by him, no matter what. As they sat together, the night deepened, and the stars shone brighter. The moon cast its silver light across the ocean, creating a path that seemed to lead to another world. Elara squeezed Orion's hand, a silent promise that she would be there for him, that she would help him find his way home, no matter how long it took. And as the waves whispered their ancient secrets, Elara felt a sense of peace, a sense that their journey together was only just beginning. As Elara and Orion shared a quiet moment by the sea, far beyond the horizon in a realm unseen by human eyes, a storm was brewing. In the depths of Orion's world, ethereal beings gathered, their expressions tense, their eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. The air crackled with energy as their leader, cloaked in shadows, raised a hand. A portal began to open, swirling with dark, ominous clouds. The leader's voice boomed like thunder, echoing across their world.
Find him. Bring Orion back.
In an instant, the beings leaped into the portal, disappearing into the void, their mission clear. Orion had to be found, and they would stop at nothing to bring him home.